So since the last time I did this, absolutely every aquarium has changed, and we've also added a load of new ones as well, including big ones, small ones, nano ones, round ones, the lot. What is going on, beautiful people? You are currently in studio number 1. I've got 2 studios, a ton of tanks. We've got so much to get through. I think we're just going to jump straight in. There's no time to waste. So I'm going to start you off with one of the newest tanks that I've set up, and that is this, the Rare Ecosystem Aquarium. What the hell does that mean? Okay, so I like to set up tanks a little bit differently than what I used to, what most people do. I like to set them up in a way that means they're sort of self-sustaining. I don't really do a lot of maintenance at all. I don't really do any water changes. I just sort of top it up. Usually these kind of tanks have lots of floating plants and things like that in as well. Not this one, because I'm just starting to get it going. I'll add floating plants if needed, if the sort of algae gets out of control, because they'll absorb nutrients. So why is it a rare ecosystem? So for me, now this might not be the case and probably isn't for many of you, as I've seen in some of the comments, this is like full of fish that I would consider rare in my part of the world at least. I mean, down here in the southwest of England, when I go to fish shop all the time, and I've picked in this tank ones that I really don't see that often at all. Like, I've only seen the green Resporas one other time. I mean, surely it just depends on the store, what sells lots, what they order, all that kind of thing. Now, I've definitely never seen these endlers before. They're like a koi endler. That is a male, I think, right there, yeah. And there's plenty at the back as well. They'll all make their way around in a minute. They'll just take the time. We've got loads in the top. So basically, when I set up this tank, I wanted fish in that top section swimming around. I wanted them in the mid-ground, hence the Resporas there. And also I wanted them in the bottom, so I've also got some laser cories, gold laser cories. There's one right there now. Look at that. What a beauty. Also for the mid-ground, I selected Galaxy Resporas. There's one now. They're so small, all these fish, that it's really hard to actually focus on them. Oh, look at you, gold laser Cory just floating around in the top part of the tank. Oh, that back down I go. And I've also got one Neurites now. I mean, he's got one hell of a task before him, hasn't he? Luckily, he seems to be doing his job. I'm not getting any algae at the moment. The tank has now been set up for, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. We've got 2 lights on this one. All cheap budget LEDs. I went for 2, which probably equates to the same price as one expensive one, but never mind. No CO2 running in this tank or any of the tanks that you're going to see in this whole video. I don't run CO2 on any of my tanks because I just can't be bothered to go out and get stuff to fill them back up again. And anything that requires me to travel for supplies, I just do not bother with. It's another reason you won't see any saltwater tanks, because I don't want to do the whole water collection or making all that sort of thing. So for the composition of the tank, we've got 2 islands. We've got one big piece of wood here, which kind of looks like a downed aeroplane or a stingray or something swooping in, and then this side we've got 2 smaller pieces that I just laid to sort of do that shape, and I think it turned out absolutely great. Remember, this whole thing's still in its infancy. It's going to do so much better than it even is at the moment, but the start has been insane. Like, the plant growth, crazy. We've also got pygmy swordtails in here, so along with the koi endlers, the pygmies, they're both live bearers. There's going to be babies everywhere, and I've actually seen some baby pygmies as well. I'm not going to be able to find them now because they're so tiny, and they're at that age where they're just hanging around in all this sort of undergrowth, and they're not big enough to come out into the open yet. We've also got 2 different types of rainbow fish at the top here, and we've got the chili Resporas as well. So small you can barely see them, but yeah, there's some of the rainbows we've got there. I'll put the tags and that up on the screen of what they are, because I can't remember the pronunciation. So how are we filtering this whole thing? Well, believe it or not, all I'm using is that tiny little sort of internal filter there, basically just pushing the water around. Most of the biological filtration is going to be done by the substrate system, which looks like just sand on the top, but underneath we've got bags of aquasoil, and we've also got bags of coarser gravel as well, all providing surfaces for beneficial bacteria and for the water to flow through, and it seems to work really well. As you'll see moving around the whole of the 2 studios, this is a method I use regularly, and I'm getting really good success with it. Plus, I just love the low maintenance, sit back, relax, chill and enjoy the tank. So I actually want to feed the fish for you now. Everyone knows feeding fish is so much fun. But first of all, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to API and Aquarian for sponsoring this video. API and Aquarian have been sponsoring the channel for more than a year and a half now. It's been a long-term relationship. And it's because of those companies that we're able to have these awesome studios, loads of fish tanks, all this stuff is a lot of money. And to run it is even more, as you can imagine. I bet you I'll get a million questions in this video in the comment section. How much is your electricity bill? The answer is a lot. So throughout the video, I'm going to be using multiple products from API and Aquarian that I use every single day, maintenance throughout the life of the tank and for the creation of the tank itself. And as I always say, I don't need to sell this stuff to you. The proof is in the pudding all around us. So without further ado, without further delay, let's get back to the video. So for this tank, this is the food I'm going to be using. So we've got sinking pellets here, which are really good for the Cories. My Cories are very small, they're quite young. So what I've done is I bought this sort of coffee grinder thingy, and you just stick them in the top, turn it around. You can actually adjust it to whatever thickness you want. I'll leave a link for all this stuff, by the way, guys. And then you can grind it down to be much, much smaller, which is really good, because also it means that any smaller fish have got a food source as well. The flake, you can just do it by hand, to be honest. You can just take a pinch of it and you just sort of break it up as it goes into the tank. And then we've got a complete variation of sizes there, because I set the grinder up so that like some big bits come through, some small bits, so everything's covered. And then we've got the flake for all the fish that are on the surface, like to swim around up there, like the rainbow fish. The guppies tend to as well. Sorry, endless. Anyway, let's just feed them. So yeah, not a huge amount of food there. We've got a couple of big flakes like left there, and then the rest of it's just sort of floating around. It'll make its way into the water column as well for the flake food. So look, some's already, as they peck at it or bite it. Do they bite? They don't have teeth. Anyway, that just pulls more and more of it down. You can see, look at that, there we go. Go. Look at that, look how fast they'll move as soon as there's food about, as you'd expect, obviously. But all about all the bottom dwelling fish. I mean, eventually some of that flake will make its way down. You can see them all down here now. They're all getting excited as well. They know stuff's going on. So let's get their food in as well. There we go, look, hopefully the cameras, yeah, should be picking it up. So lots is just falling down. Like, obviously the other fish will have a go at it as well, but it's going to fall right to the surface eventually. So it's following the flow around, because we've got like a circular flow in this whole tank. And that's perfect because the Cories actually travel around in circles. Sometimes they go this way. Today they seem to be going the opposite way. I mean, they just don't even care anymore. But they always seem to be down low, and that's the main thing. So that's where all this food is going to fall. And it's really good to have like fish that eat over all areas of the tank, because the Cories are always foraging. If there's any waste caught up as well amongst the food, they'll stir that up into the water column, and that's going to go around and get taken away by the filter, which you can then clean out. Now, I don't want to oversell you products, but at the same time, I don't want you to think that I just stuck some sand aqua soil in here and the plants and it just goes voila. It's not quite as easy as that. Here are 5 of the API products that I use pretty much every day. Now, when I'm setting up an aquarium, always use the root tabs. These go right down at the bottom layer. The roots will find their way down through whatever sort of soil or sand you're using and grab hold of the nutrients. And then once I fill the tank up, I'm always using Quick Start. In the first week at least, I use quite a lot of it, and it ensures that I can cycle the tank with the fish in really, really safely. Never get any losses at all. It just works so well. Also, to remove chlorines, heavy metals, ammonia, we've got nitrate remover in this as well. I don't want to remove the nitrate, remember, because we're doing planted tanks, but you know, that might be something that you're interested in. But I use this to treat my tap water whenever I put it into the tank and do water changes. Again, in the first week, lots and lots of this, lots of the Quick Start as well. And if it's a brand new setup, we want to be using the leaf zone as well, especially with plants that have been grown like in that really dense nutrient liquid, which most plants have been. They've been grown out of water in dense liquid just on the roots. So when they want to transition into a new scape, it's really useful just pumping in the nutrients to start with in the first week. You're doing water changes anyway, so you're going to be like providing all the nutrients the plant needs, but you're not putting in so much that there's algae everywhere. And finally, whenever I get algae in my tank, CO2 booster is the go-to thing. Either I dose it the whole water column, or I put it in a syringe and I spot treat that specific area. Works so good, pretty much just burns all of it off. So yeah, like I say, I use these all the time. Brilliant products. Thoroughly suggest that you get them. Anyway, back to the video. So up next, we've got my awesome Platy Island aquascape. Couple of months old now, I think. But anyway, all of these platies here are bred myself, except for one, which is the father there. We lost the mother, unfortunately, due to a filter accident. But the tank itself, thriving. Again, another one I don't do any maintenance on at all. This one has got an actual canister filter, so down there, like just a nice real cheap one. That was an inline heater, which I don't have on anymore. I had it in one of my old studios. Doesn't need it in this room. Oh yeah, you'll notice that there's no heaters in any of my tanks. That's because the whole studio, I don't know why I'm pointing at the ceiling. There's far more interesting things to look at. The whole studio is heated because it's far more efficient to heat the tanks by heating the room. So the room is tropical temperatures. It's always warm. Like even in the winter, it's freezing outside at this time of year. It's still warm in here, nice and toasty. But yeah, we've got some great pieces of moss growing on this wood. It's just a sort of easy setup, this one was. Some rocks in the middle, some wood plonked in the middle, and plants just all around it. It's one of the easiest ways to set up a tank, this one is. And as usual, we've got our decorative gravel on top, and underneath we've got bags of aqua soil and gravel, and that's what adds our majority of our biological filtration. But the plants are growing great. We've got Hydrocotyl Japan there, look, just growing up. It's just had a massive trim back. You see there at the back and there at the back. Those plants were all the way to the surface, creating like a wall, and I felt I was just losing the effect that I was after with this tank, so I hacked them back just to give us that island composition back, and I really do like it. It keeps it a little bit different from all the rest of them. So at the back in the darker areas, we've got some Cryptocorynes there. I can't remember what type they are, but crypts are really good for sort of darker areas, and also Anubias petite we've got all in darker areas as well. This is Trident Fern. Some of it died off in the middle there, but you can see it's coming back, which is really good. I love it when you think something's sort of gone, and then out of nowhere there's loads of little babies coming out, and you're like, yeah, there's life in you yet, my friend. Lighting wise on the tank, we've got essentially the same as these ones over here. It's just one and a lot smaller. I don't feel like it needed two, because if you look, step back, we're getting about the same sort of light levels with just that, to be honest. This is sat a little bit closer, but yeah, it's perfect. I don't really want high-end, high-budget lighting that's pumping out loads, remember, because there's no CO2 in the tank. So all of them are quite sort of medium level of lighting, I would say. If we had more than that, we would probably just get more algae growth. So it's like finding that right balance. So next up is my Rainbowfish aquarium. This is also another ecosystem tank. Again, doesn't get any water changes. Really cheap lighting. So up here we've got a curtain rail that I just put some holes into, and these are like shelving things. I don't even know, but it just so happened the curtain rail fit perfectly in the gap. And then I just put 3 20-watt LEDs on there, and they're 6,000 Kelvin. Wire runs all the way along, and then down the back, nice and neat, and it plugs into a what they call those Bluetooth plug things, and I can timer it from that and time it from that and put it on and off as well. But I don't need to, I just forget about it. It does its thing. So look, the main feature is going to be that moss, isn't it? Looking so nice. That's Taiwan moss. I think it is anyway. I completely forget. It's been trimmed up several times now. Again, no CO2. Some people say you need CO2 for your moss to go like that. You don't. You just have to trim it really regularly, and it tries to grow horizontal rather than all spiking upward. Now, because I haven't trimmed it for a while, you can see it's starting to try and grow outwards. But I'll trim it again soon and stop that. I recently trimmed up all the stem plants at the back. They're all growing back beautifully as well. And we've also added floating plants recently to help with some algae that was happening. But that seems to really help it out, and there's none there now. Well, there's minimal. There's a few bits of thread algae still remaining. But anyway, it's all about these fish. The reason they're hanging around in the front like this, in that direction, is because the flow comes from back there, so it all comes right out in the front here. It's quite high powered, but you know, they're a river fish and they're shaped perfectly for swimming that flow like they do there. They can go anywhere in a tank, but they still choose to go there. If I'd have filmed this early on in the day, you would have seen the males, which is that one there and this one here, a lot more coloured up. The Bosemani as well, that's a male, would also be more coloured up. But it's not the morning, it's now just gone lunchtime, but you know, I've got to crack on. I can't just wait all day doing nothing for the colours of the fish to pop out. Apparently they do most of their breeding in the morning, so that's why their colours like really are vibrant then. Now we've also got about 10 or 15, oh there we go, Venezuelan orange. Where you gone? Oh there you go. Orange Corys as well. And they tend to hang around in the darker areas until in a minute when we do the feeding. In fact, let me do it now because I want to see them. They're so cool. They act as a group, like, and they swarm around everywhere. Let's put the food in. Now the Venezuelan Cories in that tank are bigger than the gold lasers in this one, so we can just use the normal food and just a pinch. There we go, I've got a good pinch there. And if I put it down here, the flow should push it all over to where we want it to go. There you go, look. The fish will have some as well, the rainbows, but most of it will fall down in this corner, and in a minute we'll come back and there'll be Cories everywhere. That's what I'm talking about. Right, I've got to stay a bit steady here because just getting up and moving the camera scared a bunch of them off, but look at them. Such beautiful little fish, aren't they? Now I had them in my other tanks and I was like, oh, I just want more of them. Especially these ones. Look, I think a male is more dominant sort of coloured, or it might not be. I might be talking rubbish there. I don't actually know, but you assume so, don't you? Because usually in the fish world, the males are really highly sort of coloured. And these two here in particular are way more colourful than the other ones. Although saying that, I'm now scanning across and they all seem just as amazing. There's a couple over here, look, they're a little bit more dull. Maybe that's just genetics, I don't know. But this is an awesome tank. Like I've said, it's one of those ones that I don't have to do anything to anymore, apart from every now and again, zoop, just cut off all those plants all in the background area, put them down low, and let it just come through again. I mean, I really don't like doing that because it looks perfect now. I just wish I could freeze it right there. I mean, but then saying that, where would the fun be? Right, over in the corner next to these two, we've got some interesting little setups. So this is my no filter ecosystem bowl. There's nothing in there apart from plants, shrimp and snails. It looks like horrendous at the moment because the pearlweed has gone crazy. Lighting wise, all I'm using is at the top here, one of these cheap lights again, the same one that's on there. That's a smaller version, but I've got it up high so it's more like an ambient light. Now the light from this seems to have turbocharged the pearlweed in this corner. I've got a big update coming on it soon, but oh, there we go. Example of shrimp life. I mean, you know what shrimps are, so I don't know why I had to prove it. But it seems I did. So we've just got a whole little substrate system down here. It's providing nutrients to all the plants. And that is literally the coolest thing. I love this bowl because it's nothing but a bowl. I could move this and put it anywhere and it would still work. Very shortly it's going to be the 2-month update. I'm going to cut it right back and get it looking great again. We've blocked out a load of light with these floating plants, which will happen, but my whole point with this tank was just to leave it as an experiment. But next to it, this one is quite new. This is my Betta fish Paludarium. Here's the Betta, look. Look at you. Amazing. It's a Dumbo Platinum, I think. I think that's what you call it. He wants food now. But yeah, so we've got like a rock wall or mountain in the background. Can we see the side? Yeah, kind of. And then we've got some coarse stones that go like sort of halfway up. Then the fish can go all in the background area if it wants to as well. So it's not just stuck out in the front here. It can like explore in 3D. But he likes coming out the front because he loves us. And then on the top, look, we've got these peace lilies that just sit in the gap with the rocks and then the background area. And they just grow. They're so amazing. I'll show you examples in a minute in the other studio of how good peace lilies are in the water. They keep everything crystal clear as well. I mean, we have got a filter of course, but I mean, how much is it really going to be doing? It's a tiny little hang on the back, maybe some water polishing or scrubbing, that's about it really. It's pretty gunked up. It's probably because it's right next to that light. But yeah, another interesting little setup, just something I was trying out. Some nice tannins, botanical stuff down in the foreground here just for a little bit more realism. And I feel like it creates a cool natural look. Yeah, I really like it. And then next to the Rainbowfish tank, we have of course got Timmy! Timmy! Hello buddy, everyone loves you. Don't worry, that's not like a dodgy shell, that's just a little bit of algae. You can see actually where the growth plates are coming through because Timmy is growing. Let me give you some reference. He's still tiny. Here's my finger. Oh, I want this finger. It looked like a little worm. I tried to... No, he's not too stupid, see? He knows his glasses away. Anyway, he's got a load of golden white cloud mountain minnows in with him, look. I added a lot more of these in recently, actually. They really have sort of given it a bit more energy in there. There's lots of moss going on. So I just leave this one, really, because I feel like it's got a cool sort of swampy vibe. On the top, look, we have got a load of bogwood coming out. That rests on top of like a stone structure that I made out of a load of rocks. And then we've got ferns that sit in the gaps, and underneath that is a pile of aqua soil. There you go, you can sort of see it at the corner there. and that gives nutrients to the ferns. There's enough water in the roots, and yeah, the whole thing just kind of works. And Timmy can just sort of perch wherever he wants. If I stay still, he cannot see me, like Tyrannosaurus Rex. But yeah, I feed the golden white clouds the crushed up sort of pellets, and there's a bit of flake in there actually broken up as well. So this stuff's actually kind of like a mix of the two. So I just take a pinch, a small pinch actually, because there's not that many fish. Just give it the old sprinkle, sprinkle. And then Timmy can see that and he's thinking, where is my food? I don't know why he's rushing, guys. He just is, okay? Timmy, you have this food here. So these are like little dried up shrimp, which feels awful feeding him shrimp that I painstakingly purchase and try and grow myself. And they're about that size as well, but these are like, I guess these are like freshwater ones anyway. I have to break them up a little bit when I put them in because little Timmy's, no, it's there, mate. It's right there. He's only got a little mouth, and they, oh, I missed. Try again. Yes, I have. Go, go. And then he goes and hides, as always. And like someone's going to come in and take it away from him. He goes and hides to eat it. Then he'll come back and get these other bits in a bit. Oh, you might notice there's like a bit of a film on the surface. That's because there's so much organic matter in this tank, and he poops a lot as well. But overall, we're winning. There's like minimal algae, apart from where I want it to be, which is on the wood. And yeah, it looks pretty decent, doesn't it? So next up, we've got this whole section over here next to my desk where I'm currently editing this video. This tank here was from Apistogramma Tank. There we go. There's the male, looking brilliant. It's also got more of the Venezuelan Cories in there. I don't know why. I just keep picking them. I love them. So I went for a much more natural setup with this tank, and I've just left it to its own devices. There's quite a lot of algae and that kind of thing, but I wanted to go for like a real nature. Not nature style, but natural style. Nature style is more like Takeshi Amano, which looks perfect. This definitely doesn't look like that, but it's an enjoyable one to watch. I will be changing it again soon. I feel like I can do a lot better of the skills I've learned since I did this tank. And below it is just somewhere I keep some plants that I might want to grab at any point for another build. But then next to it, up here, look at that. So recently I put in these plants that were in my other studio, which is the other side of that wall, and we've got this absolutely huge Monstera plant. Look, this is growing like crazy. We're getting new leaves popping up as well. Look, I'm keeping it watered like I promised I would to those of you who watch the channel regularly. I've got a problem where I always kill house plants, but these are doing great. Watered again with the tank water when I do a if I clean out the filter like this one here, you can see, and I squeeze the sponge into the water and put it straight into these plants, and they seem to be loving it. I mean, this one's like growing across already. So yeah, what is this tank then? So this is one of the original ecosystem aquariums. This has been running for nearly a year now. It had a very slight water change to start with within the first few days, and after that I've not done a single water change since. What about evaporation? Well, yeah, I've topped it up, obviously. But that's it. So you're thinking, how do I export waste? That kind of thing. Well, we've got this filter, this power head down here. Reflections are a little bit tough, but yeah, so it's just, you see it's just all blowing that way. Oh, there's my female Apistogramma. There's a few Apistogrammas in here, and then a load of Endler guppies and normal guppies as well, fancy ones. They're just perfect, really. They produce a load of food for the Apistogramma to eat. There's a male. Was it Agassiz or Cacatoides? I can't even remember. It's in here somewhere. He hangs around in this top section and comes out and says hello every once in a while. But yeah, this is the tank that taught me about doing just a single internal filter, an absolute ton of substrate, because there is loads in here. It banks right up to halfway over in that corner and also over in that corner. So it can be a little bit deceiving from here, looking like it's just a shallow little bit in the foreground, because that isn't the case at all. It's all about getting that mass inside the tank for beneficial bacteria to colonize. So we've got loads of Rotala rotundifolia, we've got Manzanita wood, and we've got our two cheap LED floodlights again. You find that all of my tanks have just got cheap lights pretty much. Not because I've got anything against expensive ones. The expensive ones work well, they look great. It's just that I like going low budget and just seeing what I can achieve. Now this one is kind of running its course. I'm getting itchy feet with it. Going to keep it going for a little bit longer, but there's going to be something new coming up in this section in not too distant future. Okay, now moving on to the side is another 4-foot tank. This is my Congo Tetra African aquarium. Now, don't shoot me. I mean, don't ping the comment. Java fern isn't African. I know, not all the plants are African, but what I wanted was the majority of the fish to be African. But there's bristlenose plecos in there. Yes. We've got crevensis as well. So there's daddy crevensis, and you can see everywhere lots of juvenile crevensis as well, which were babies, and they did come from the daddy here. We sadly lost the mum quite a while ago. You know, as with the platies, the gene pool lives on. Now we've got different generations here as well, because some of them are really big, like these ones here, and then you've got those ones that are completely different sizes. Or perhaps it's just really good genetics and fighting for food better. I don't know. I mean, I feed the tank quite heavily because we've got quite a lot of fish in here, so I would have thought that every fish is able to get some food. In fact, let's do that now. So yeah, as before, it's the pellet that I'm using, the crushed pellet. I like to sprinkle some on the top, look, because that's where all the Congo tetras go. And then as they grab it, it makes its way down, look, for all the crevensis waiting down the bottom area. There we go, there's loads there, there's plenty for that amount of fish. Perhaps, well, there's still loads floating at the top and it's all making its way down. You don't want to overfeed too much. They're only tetras and small crevensis at the end of the day. They're not big feeders. I mean, the male here, he's a decent size, so we want to put in a good amount to make sure he's feeding. I always watch him as well, and he's eating now, look. Yeah, he's going everywhere. He's grabbing loads of little bits left, right and centre. I don't think you can see him there. Yeah, really fantastic tank this. One of my proudest. It's just 2 big pieces of bogwood surrounded by an absolute ton of plants. Lighting wise, LED floodlights again. They are suspended from this little piece of wood that I painted black. Just ties it in nicely. 30 watts each, so only 2 of them. Versus over there, remember, there was 20 watts, so I put 3 of them in. And for filtration, I've got 2 canister filters that go one side there and then the other side in the foreground here. And that just gives us our nice rotation of water and make sure that any waste is flicked up into the water column is taken out. To be honest, if I was to do this again, I wouldn't bother the canisters. I'd just do what I do with the other tanks and have the nice little internal filters. But yeah, great tank, isn't it? Loads of action all the time. Now up next we've got my low-tech, low-budget aquarium I set up a good couple of months ago. It's home to these amazing albino cherry barbs. Look at that. Like, that's not like ramped up or anything. That's actually how insane they look. The camera can hardly sort of adjust. Let me change it a little bit. Okay, there we go. They are so cool, aren't they? They're like the brightest fish you've ever seen. We've also got a bunch of Apistogramma babies I put in it. Well, they're not babies now. They're juveniles. So check out these guys, look. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be a male. Just for size reference, look. Absolutely tiny, but they were completely babies when we put them in here. They're all growing out now. There's quite a few in here actually. I think me coming to the front, that's got to be a male as well. Look at that coloration. Yeah, definitely a male. But we've also got a load of Corys in here as well. They are the smudge spot Corys. There's one of them there. There's absolutely loads of them, to be honest. They like to hide out in the back. Let me put some food in, and that brings them all down into the foreground. It's so good to look at. There we go, look, you know, we can see them all coming forwards. In fact, the smudge spots stay quite camouflaged, don't they? We've got a Hillstream Loach, a stray one I found in one of my tanks. I thought it'd do well in here. We've also got a single rocket killifish at the top here. He's still looking for some food. I'll sprinkle some finer stuff on the surface in the top for him. He's a nice chunky one, look. There's a good size to him. But yeah, it's so cool that when you do your feeding in this tank, it all settles in this front area. Sometimes it's so good having that beached front area, just because all the fish come forward. Look, there we go. There's more Apistogramma coming forward now as well, and smudge spots. Oh, it's so cool, isn't it? Hello, they're all over here. I suppose that's because that's where the majority of the food sort of fell, over in this corner. Oh, awesome. And next to that tank, we have got the Neon Tetra Jungle. Look at them. They've seen me over here. They're all waiting. They want some food. We'll give you some in a minute. The idea of this tank was just to hammer it full of green plants. I mean, we've kind of achieved the look. I'm going to be changing this around soon. I want to be doing something really incredibly natural for the Neon Tetras, like a proper black water tank. I've done it twice already, but the last 2 times I did it with big chunky bogwood. The next time I do it, I want to do it more sort of stick style. Do you know what I mean? And more leaf litter and a clear background that you can see through that kind of gives us a bit of depth, hopefully, because before it was kind of like everything was in the foreground. So just something a little bit different and switching it up. So this tank is running on a little hang on the back. Look at that grime. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to clean that or not, but I don't want to upset the balance, so I just don't touch anything. Again, we've got that cheap LED budget light, the same that we've got on both these tanks and many of my other ones. But an absolutely sort of easy tank, this one, that I don't really do anything again to. I keep saying that because that's pretty much true. I set up all my tanks so I don't have to do a lot to them. I can just enjoy them, because can you imagine, there's no way I could run these studios if I had like really complicated systems that I had to do tons of maintenance on. So I make sure when I set them up for self-sustainingness. And then below it is just this tank absolutely full of pearlweed. I use this as somewhere just to store anything I might need to, just a tank running that's doing really well. And I'm going to be using that pearlweed soon. I want to do a pearlweed carpet tank again. I did one a long time ago. Actually, it was in the last tour we did, a big one in the middle of the room. But I want to do this for like more sort of carpets for nanos. It's a really easy growing plant that if you guys can get hold of, you don't really need CO2 or anything, but it stays so vibrant and green, it can look good in so many tanks. And that's why it's in so many tanks. So that is Studio 1 complete. I now want to take you through into Studio 2, plus the corridor in between the two as well, because I've got some tanks in there. Okay, so as we open the door, we come out here. So first of all, I've got like a little hardscape selection-y thing. And then around the corner that you can see here, I've got a little racking system going on. We've got plants there. With actually no water in the bottom. I need to put some more into that, but they're ones I just left to anything. I'm not really using them. And then over there we've got a few more plants that come from a tank I took apart recently. And then above it, up here, we've got the new Ricefish aquarium that I've done. So they're patiently waiting for some food currently. There we go, they're going to get fed. So I was going for a real natural look here. Nothing too aquascaped, more like it's like a bit of the river, you know what I mean? Or a stream, more like a stream, a slow stream where a little log has fallen in, and then we've got plants growing on the embankments and floating plants. I didn't want it too bright either, and I think it's at a good level. It's only going to get more and more sort of closed in with the plants at the back, because I want them to loop over eventually. I want this whole section out here to be at some point like 4, even more possibly going over there, I don't know, Ricefish. Having a bit of trouble sourcing some different ones at the moment, but so far we've got the Galaxy Ricefish here. They're called that because they've got little starry bits on them, and I'm hoping to get some breeding from those guys, so that'll be awesome. That'll be really nice if we can get that. It's not essential, I'm just enjoying them anyway, but it's quite nice just building a collection of something, isn't it? And then this one, like I say, it's just a bunch of floating plants and mosses and things, nothing's in there at all, but it's a good storage one if I need to use it at some point. And then we enter Studio number 2. Where should we start? Why don't we start with these two massive tanks I've got here. Now this one is my Amazon aquarium. Let me just get rid of those reflections behind us. There we go, look, that's a bit better. We can see what we're doing. Now remember in the previous studio when I said about the Betta Paludarium that had the peace lilies? Well, these are the same plants, except for this one right over here. This is actually Monstera as well, like we had above the original ecosystem. But these were tiny little plants, just like those ones I put in. And that was about, I don't know, a year ago. But look at them now, absolutely huge. Look at these guys as well. We've got my Colombian Tetras in here. Absolute monsters now, so chunky. We've got some awesome Bolivian rams in here. We've got a pair actually. They've had eggs and wigglers a few times, but obviously in this environment, it's not gonna happen, is it? These guys will pick out any like tiny fry in no time at all. So what's the filtration for this one? The filtration was a canister filter, but it hasn't been running for a month, which I didn't realise, and I didn't want to switch it on again because I knew it would put loads of like ammonia-filled waste back into the system. So I just left it, and it's got a little power head here, or wave maker, just pushing the water around, and it's absolutely perfect. Don't worry, I checked the water. We're not getting any bad levels of ammonia or anything at all. Oh look, there's one of the Corys, a Dolphi, or the one that's similar to a Dolphi, but not a Dolphi. I don't know, I can't remember. It begins with a D. Anyway, so we've got a big collection of different Tetras in here, and that's exactly what I wanted to go for. We've got different varieties of Corys as well, but I don't really see them because of the way I've set it up, and that is why I'm actually going to be changing this very soon. I want to do something completely different, a little bit more like the African aquarium where we've got like central pieces of wood and the fish can go all around it. To be honest, that was the original plan when I set this one up, but I got carried away with massive pieces of wood in the back, and yeah, one thing led to another, and then here we are. So this one's lit by 2 of the 20-watt LED floodlights. There's one there, and there's one underneath this undergrowth somewhere as well. But they work so well. And if we wanted to, I could have a full carpet down the bottom here of that sage. But that isn't really the look I was going for with this one. I wanted lots of sort of sticks for detail and things like that. But in all, it's been a successful tank. And then right next to it, look, we have got the electric blue Acara tank. Now, what I'm thinking is, because we've got big Tetras in there, they're all like adult size now. I mean, look, the size of these X-rays. I'm going to put the two together and create a proper 4-foot South American tank, with the electric blue Acaras then being the stars of the show, because they are so stunning. I will transfer a lot of the plants from here as well, because we've got really good Amazon swords. This is overplanted in my opinion, and you know it pains me to say that because I don't normally care about overplanting, but we've got a lot of big leafed plants, too many big leaf plants. It looks good, don't get me wrong, but it's not ideal. Reason being is because they're such big leaf plants, they stop an absolute ton of flow, meaning we're getting a lot of waste generated, and it doesn't run itself then. I've got to do a ton of work to it. I'll probably spend more time on this tank than all of the others combined, to be honest, just because of that lack of flow. And these guys are going to produce a decent amount of waste, aren't they? Because they're decent sized fish. Hello, watch them bite my finger. They do this every time. You want some food? You want some? That one jumped right out. I wasn't watching you, you cheeky devil. So yeah, this one's got a canister filter in again, but I was going for a cool composition of like an archway, and there were some other components to the composition as well, and they've all got lost in the plants. Really healthy though. Look, we've got great growth going on, haven't we? Like from all the Limnophilia. This wasn't even planted at the front. It's worked its way all the way around. Look at these poor guys. Oh, they want some food. Hang on. Right, let's go with some flake. They're going to bite this right out of my hands. Here it is. Here it is. Can you see it? Can you see it? Yeah, you can see it, can't you? Go on then. Whoa. So much there. Go on then. What are you shot? Oh, he wants me to let go. There we go. I'll leave it floating for you. In fact, let's put some in here as well for these guys. Here you go, guys. Here it comes. These guys are animals. Look at them. Especially the Colombians. I say it every time, but they're just like piranhas. Tetras are piranhas. Or piranhas are tetras, so that would make sense. There we go. I mean, that's nowhere near enough food for that tank. I'm going to do that again. No, not big enough. Even bigger pinch. There we go. A massive pinch. And what I really like to do, actually, is just drip it. Drip it? Is that the right word? Drop it into the power head like that. Look at that lot. Now, they'll eat that in seconds. Like, we'll come back like in a few seconds' time. All of that will be gone. I mean, it's pretty much gone now, look. Love it. But that's what I'm saying. I want to change it because I don't want to be just this area. I want it everywhere, just like the Congo Tetra tank, the African River. So swinging you round this way, right in front of us, dead centre of this wall. I've not really used this space that well, have I, to be honest? We have got the Cory only tank. So we've got bronze Corys in here, we've got albino Corys in here, we've got stir-by Corys in here. Hello, stop hiding. And we've got pygmy Corys as well. Where are you guys? I have just fed them. Oh, there's a couple right at the back in that central part. Yeah, we've got about 15 of them. This needs a trim up. Recurring theme. There's pearlweed. Pearlweed was put into this tank as a way of sucking up nutrients, and it definitely has done that. This tank is flying. Oh, there's also a couple of bristlenose plecos in there as well. Always good to use bristlenose when you've got like diatom outbreaks, and they just then after they've cleaned the diatoms, they just continue with keeping it spotless. I mean, look at that wood. Just look at that wood. Super clean. See, look at the size of that mama at the back there. She's an... Oh, I just banged the glass. Sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll leave you to it. We went for 2 islands here. Dual island composition. Not competition. Just 2 big bits of wood. I just want to go crazy with the plants, to be honest. And a nice open foreground area just for seeing the Corys. Now, when I come running up to the tank like this with a camera, they get a bit spooked, but these guys look at the size of that one. That's got to be a female as well. Is she full of eggs? come on, give me babies, just give me more babies. We've got different generations in here as well, of course, and they all come from the original 6 that I had. So there's got to be a good 30 Cories in it. Well, you wouldn't believe it, but trust me, there's about 30 Cories in here total now. Apart from the stir-bys, they're all babies from the originals. I bred them in my discus tank that I used to have. Now, lighting again is the standard. Yeah, it's a recurring theme, isn't it? It's the budget LED that we've got. Oh, it can't focus. It can't do it. It can't do it. It's got the budget LED, but I bought these risers. They're a lot higher than the usual ones that come with it. The usual ones come about halfway. I wanted some extra height just to make sure that we're not getting a load of algae, because I wasn't going to be putting a lot of plants in that are planted. And there actually isn't. It looks more dense than it is. It looks good though, right? I love it. Now, swinging to the right of it, we have got a racking system. So this is where I'm currently doing a load of shrimp breeding, Neocaridina shrimp. We've got cherries, we've got everything. I'll start off with this one up here. It's got a slight little bit of a sort of tinge to it. That's because of all the botanicals we've got in there, the catappa leaves. Now in this one, we have got carbon lilies. There's one. Where you going, buddy? Come out, show yourself. Yeah, so I went for something completely different with this setup. So I did no substrate at all and just got like a mirror finish bottom, and then I just went for epiphytes only. So we've got loads of different kinds of Bucephalandra on here. Bucephalandra, that was very posh of me. Bucephalandra, I don't even know anymore. Yeah, and we've got the typical ram's horn snails. I keep ram's horn snails in all of my shrimp tanks. You'll see that as well. They just help with clean up and eating any leftover waste that the shrimp don't eat. Every single one of them as well has one of these feeding tubes so that we can put all the food in one spot and just give it a tap, tap, tap. Now, I actually use the shrimp pellets here as well, and they just seem to go nuts for them. So I'm going to fill all of these up now so you guys can see. So it's literally only been a few minutes and we've already got loads of shrimp going nuts down in this one. We've got a bunch of all the adults come across with this one. Look at that buried female. Oh, you can't. There you go. Look at that. Tons and tons of eggs. Look at her wafting them under there just to make sure that they're staying clean, I guess. I guess that's what it is. And then over here in the carbon lily one, we've got 3 in there already as well. As I say, it normally takes a good, I don't know, half an hour or so before they all sort of come over. And then down next to these guys, I've got a no filter tank. There's no filter in this tank at all. It's just set up with plants. That's why it stays a little bit hazy, just a tiny bit. And at the back there, we've got some axelrod Raspora. There should be 9 or 10 of them. Anyway, these are going to be going into the rare ecosystem aquarium soon because they're quite rare. And I want to do a shrimp setup in this tank here. Nice little tank I did there. Enjoyed making it, but yeah, I'm not overjoyed with it. So if you're not happy with something, I always suggest you just change it because you can't give it the care it needs unless you love it. I suppose that applies to everything in life as well. Right, next to it here, we have got a dirted tank. This tank, believe it or not, is made with just normal soil. Actually, it was like pond soil. But anyway, it's capped over the top with a load of sand and gravel. It actually goes deeper than that, what you can see at the front, but that's just the front. I like to do 1 inch at the front. I just think it's a good, nice little border. But we've had insane growth in this tank, and it's made me want to do a dirty tank again, actually. It can be tricky. I've got it wrong a few times, but this is an example where I've got it absolutely right. Look at that moss. It's going crazy, isn't it? It's like a big moss thing right at the top, and we've got some Ludwigia here at the side growing right at the top, and that's going to come out the top fully soon. But look over here. That's a testament, I think, to the soil. This plant is just looking so nice. I'm just leaving it, look, just letting it grow all the way across there. I did want to break this tank down and do another one because I want to redo what I did before, but even better now. I've learned a lot. But the thing that's stopping me is I want to see how big this gets. Maybe I can like take it all the way over the top here and amongst all the shrimp tanks as well. So I just realised how long this video is. I better get a move on. So here we've got just one of my Betta fish tanks and a bowl aquarium that's got some chili Raspora in. Again, it needs a hack up, that darn pearlweed again. And then over here, many of you will know this one. It's my sparkling Gourami tank. I set it up a long time ago now. It's a bit bright there. Hang on, let me just adjust it. There we go. So we've got the original 3 sparkling Gourami in here. And it's become a bit of a tank where I just add in some oddballs that I've got from other ones. So we've got a load of killifish in here that I didn't even know I had. I went back to a storage tank that had never had killifish in, and I just found these killifish babies. I'm not entirely sure, if I'm honest, what ones they are. We've also got a little collection of Endler guppies. We've got the females as well. There's one down there, look, ready to give birth. Now they're constantly having babies in here, but the sparkling gouramis are actually quite aggressive little fish, and they'll go around and pick out any of the babies anytime. Let me just step back so you can actually see the whole tank in its entirety. Again, another one that's going to be changing soon. It's nearly a year old, so I don't really keep tanks for longer than 6 months usually. I like to switch things up and get better skills and that. Also, I personally see it as a kind of enrichment for the fish by every 6 months changing the environment for them, providing you can, you know, make sure your water parameters and everything are safe. I don't see no harm in it personally. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Sparkling gourami is very underrated fish. But they also croak. They make like little, and I forget that it was nothing. It's nothing like that noise I just did. So sometimes I'll be in here and I'll just be like working away or something, and I just hear that noise. I'm like, what was that? And I always forget. And then I'm like, yeah, it's the gourami, isn't it? It sounds like a mechanical fault in a filter or something. Yeah, same again. Budget lighting on all of this. And then below it, I just have a storage area for a load of different substrates. Could do with tidying up a bit, couldn't it, to be honest? But it's like one of those messes where you know where everything is. And then over to the side of it, we've just got another storage area for a load of hardscape, big rocks, small rocks, wood. Yeah, so it's just a bit of a pick-a-mix. And to be honest, I quite like that. I just come in and just go, oh, what bit will work? Because I forget what's what. And there's too much to obviously keep track of. So like that'll work in a nanoscape at some point. If you're wondering what that is, in the summertime when I get little gnats and that in here, potentially from having the windows open, switch that on and they're all gone overnight. And now in front of the dark and dreary window, we've got a storm blowing outside, by the way, guys, but we're fine in here. So we've got a Harlequin Rasbora tank. It's been through ups and downs, this tank, but I really like it. It's a very simple one. It's kind of run its course. It is finished, let's be honest, but I'm just enjoying it for a little bit more time before doing something different. The reason I say it's finished is because what else happens now apart from growth, trim, growth, trim? When a tank gets into that phase, for me, it's kind of done, and I like to start a new challenge or, you know, something just completely different altogether. In front of it, I've got a few sort of bowl things here. These have got shrimp in, so we've got some absolutely beautiful reds in this one and some blues in that one. And the reason for that is because next to this tank, we've got a whole nother system I'm setting up for the shrimp. This is the first tank that's gone on it. You guys would probably have seen this already. So it is the shrimp bubbles. There's a whole build video on this. It's turned out really, really lovely. Shrimp are already breeding, and there's buried shrimp in there. Buried means the shrimp have got eggs all over them, or hanging down below them, the females anyway, and they're going to be hatching out soon. So, and now we're at a point where the shrimp aren't just staying down in this bottom section, they're really confident enough to be all over the tank. So they're on the pearlweed at the back there. Is there any more climbing around? Yeah, there we go. Look, there's some over on the filter as well. This is a tiny little nano filter in this one, but it's just enough to push the water around, and that's what I really want. You don't want tons of flow, and those little slots in the side there have got a foam inside. Now the foam is absolutely tiny, so babies won't get sucked into it. They'll just be able to sit on it and peck away. It'll actually be really good for them to provide biofilm as well. These glass bubbles obviously got suction cups on them, and they stick to the glass. Now, it's going to be a pain for maintenance, but this is a shrimp tank, remember, so the only maintenance I'll be doing is cleaning the front glass. I'll let everywhere else get like a layer of dust algae on it, which is really, really good for shrimp breeding tanks. You don't want to over clean them. As always, we've got a little feeding tube here, and the light, again, one of those budget lights. It's just a long one. I've got it on each sort of shelf. So down here, look, I've got 2 more ready to go, and I've just had a delivery of different plants and things. I've got Acara down here. I don't think you can see because the reflection. Oh. We've got hairgrass look in there. We've got 6 pots of that, which means we can fill a whole tank basically. And then I've got these really cool things from Tropica, which are pieces of wood with like Java fern and Anubias already attached. So I thought we could do something similar like that, but with pieces of floating wood instead. And I've got absolute ton as well of Christmas moss in these packs, which is absolutely brilliant because they're already sort of matted and you can just lay them down on stuff and they just stay. Oh, it looks so good. And down the bottom, a massive collection of plants that I've ordered in. Look at all of this boost. There's an expensive cube of plants right there, I can tell you, but it's worth the investment because it's going to look so good. We've got boost Cadagang, we've got the wavy green, we've got the red variety, even though it's not red currently, but it does sort of look reddish. We've got Anubias Petite. We've got so many different plants all in here. I've got Glossostigma and I've got Monte Carlo. This is exciting. When I see like a whole thing full of plants like this, you can imagine how excited I get, especially when we've got empty tanks ready to go. So as I'm sure you guys can imagine, I'm massively excited about future projects we've got coming up. If you've enjoyed this video and you've lasted this long, put a comment down in the bottom saying I lasted, and you know, then it'll just be amazing to see how many people actually got all the way through. It's going to be nearly an hour long, this video. But like I say, we've got loads coming up, so if you haven't already, hit the like, the subscribe button, check out some of the links below if you're interested in purchasing any of this stuff, and I will see you in the next one.